Hi, Haley B. Miller, Cincinnati Enquirer. Have you seen footage in Cincinnati of a recent street fight, and what concerns do you have about that, given that that's your home city?
You said a street fight in Cincinnati? I have not seen this. Sorry, give me a little more background, Haley. I'm not sure about this.
There was a group of people who attacked a couple folks on the street in Cincinnati.
She want to say a group of black people. Let's just go ahead and get to
it. Senator Bernie Moreno, some others have spoken out about it, have been critical of it.
Okay, yes. So what I saw, and I haven't seen the full context, but what I saw is a mob of lawless thugs beating up on an innocent person, and it's disgusting. And I hope every single one of those people who engage in violence is prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And they will be. They will be, so long as law enforcement in the state of Ohio takes their job seriously. I know Dave Yost cares a lot about these things. But yeah, I actually, you're right. Bernie did send me a clip of this, and we talked a little bit about it. I don't know the full context. I don't know how the fight started. But the one part that I saw that was really gruesome is you had a grown man who sucker punched a middle-aged woman. And where I come from, at least, when you have a grown man who sucker punches a middle-aged woman, that person ought to go to jail for a very long time. And frankly, he's lucky there weren't some better people around, because they would have handled it themselves. But if they're not going to handle it, the cops in Cincinnati, the law enforcement, you've got to prosecute people. We've had way too much lawlessness on the streets of great American cities. How many of you all have wanted to go to downtown Akron or downtown Canton or downtown Columbus for a meal, but you're worried because the local authorities in these big cities have allowed lawlessness to run wild? We have got to make great American cities safe again for families and children. If you want to take your wife or your children out for a meal, you shouldn't be worried about street violence. And the only way to destroy that street violence is to take the thugs who engage in that violence and throw their asses in prison.
I am 100% in agreement with what J.D. Vance is saying right here. The only way that you can really solve for a problem is by making an example of people. And we no longer want to do that because we are trying to be sensitive to people's culture and not to profile and all of that. Here's the fact of the matter, right? Because there's a segment of people on one side that's saying, well, he was the one that threw the punch first. And then there's another segment of people that's saying, yo, this assault on people is out of control. And if it was the other way around, then people would basically be rioting, protesting, and advocating for certain people to get thrown in jail. Here's where I stand on this. They stomped this dude. They kicked him while he was down. They beat up a woman right after that. This was way, way, way beyond who threw the first punch. And I'm tired of people, especially black people, justifying being brutal, being evil, knowing that they've basically incentivized this type of thing, that they were looking for it. That's the thing that we don't really want to have a conversation about, is that there's a group of people, not all black people, but definitely the N-word, and they are very, very much looking for a confrontation. They are looking to get into a situation. They are looking to start trouble and all of this stuff. And so when I see a certain demographic of people, I just back up. I don't even engage. I don't even entertain it. I don't go back and forth with people. As a matter of fact, I'm so situationally aware that I am willing to just leave and go to an entirely different place or go into an entirely different environment if I find myself in a space where I got to deal with a certain element, right? And we all know what it is. It's not something that we need to be highlighting and going back and forth. But when we dealing with a certain element, there's a certain way that you got to move, and you got to be situationally aware. And too many times now, I've always been familiar with the Cincinnati Jazz Fest. Always, like ever since I was a little kid. As far as I know, my aunts and my uncles used to go, and it's something that I even entertained the possibility of going to one day. Just wound up not being my thing. But it's never been a thing where people have said anything that negative could happen. But guess what? One group of people just completely ruined the reputation of Cincinnati, because the thing that they are going viral for is not anything that's positive. It's not anything that's great. They're going viral because of a situation that they wind up finding themselves in that's not conducive for the city leaders, and now they forced to defend themselves.
Anyone who put their hands on another individual during this incident in an attempt to cause harm will face consequences.
Tonight, city leaders responding to Saturday's fight downtown as video prompts reaction from across America.
I will say, if individuals were down there and participated in this event, it would be in their best interest to come turn themselves in at one of our police districts.
Never gonna happen.
Police Chief Terry Thigi says 5 people face charges, and that number could grow. Thigi also said she did not know if any of the victims were hospitalized and did not go into specifics of anyone injured.
It is clear to us that alcohol played a significant part in this incident.
Federal officials also commenting. The Assistant U.S. Attorney General Harmeet Dillon shared a video on X saying, "Every American is entitled to the equal protection of our laws. Nobody in our great nation should be the victim of such crime, and where race is a motivation, federal law may apply." Cincinnati's mayor refuting that claim.
It's wildly irresponsible. There's no indication at this point that that race was a motivation in this violent act.
This summer, Cincinnati police have been implementing task forces, drone programs, and youth programs to combat violent crime in the city. The mayor doubling down, it's working.
But the interventions that we have been putting in place on violent crime, particularly in the urban core, are working. And we've got to just continue to be intentional about that strategy.
Now, tonight, I also asked the police chief if the roving task force was out downtown at the time of this fight. Now, remember, that task force is the group that CPD set up to prevent violent crime downtown. She said the roving task force wrapped up around 2 in the morning. This fight happened around 3 in the morning.
This don't have nothing to do with a task force. It don't have nothing to do with prevention of crime. It don't have anything to do with any of that. I wish people would just call it out for what it is. This was a group of people that decided that they wanted to get into a confrontation. At any point, people could have walked away, did their thing, backed up, went and did whatever it is that they needed to do in order to take care of business and get home safely. Now, everybody is facing charges, and if you're saying that it wasn't racially motivated also, that race didn't play a role, didn't play a factor, I would have to dispute that because I just understand what the culture and how it is that it looks at things. But people could have walked away. People could have went home safely. You know what I'm saying? Your pride and your ego may have been a little bit hurt. And that would have been the end of it. But when you get drunk, when you surround yourself with certain groups of people, when you get into a certain element, you start arguing and going back and forth. Next thing you know, people is kicking you in the mouth and it's a big fight and all of that stuff. Ain't nobody got time for that. Nobody got time for that. And so I would encourage them to absolutely, and now that you got the vice president involved, I'm pretty sure that he's going to put some pressure on people. So now you as a person that was involved in this, or anybody that was surrounding it, or anybody that was there, now you got to basically run for cover because you're going to be facing the harshest penalties because they are going to be pushing to make an example of you. And that's just the way that it goes. So all of these bandwagoners is like, oh man, they justified or whatever. I want you to make sure that you contribute to the defense fund. Make sure that you continue to show up at the trials and all of that because these people are going to be in prison. They're going to be held accountable. And what you thought was a simple street fight turned into a brutal beatdown of a man and his girl or his wife or whoever she was. And I just couldn't imagine being in that type of situation because somebody got to go. Somebody got to go. Somebody got to suffer. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. T. Chanley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Peace.